Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another sealed deck building exercise where we will be building a 40 card sealed deck out of 6 Ixalan boosters. So let's get started here. So we'll start off by opening all 6 boosters and sorting the cards by color to make things easier. So let's start with booster number 1, where we have a Blight Keeper, Tilonal's Knight, Queen's Commission, Skullduggery, Depths of Desire, Commune with Dinosaurs, Skymarch Bloodladder, Dive Down, Pious Interdiction, Demolish, Stormfleet Arsonist as our first uncommon, Kumena Speaker, Deadeye Quartermaster, and our rare is a Shadowed Caravel. On to pack number 2. Where we start with Vampire's Zeal, another Blight Keeper, Looming Altasaur, Brazen Buccaneers, Pirate's Prize, Ixalan's Diviner, Blinding Fog, Paladin of the Bloodstained, Gilded Sentinel, Thrash of Raptors, Rallying Roar as our first uncommon, a Raging Swordtooth, Raptor Hatchling, and our rare is a Sanguine Sacrament. On to pack number 3, where we have Ryle, Bishop's Soldier, Sailor of Means, Spike-tailed Ceratops, Cobbled Wings, Spellpierce, Territorial Hammerskull, Windstrider, Hierophant's Chalice, Costly Plunder, Heartless Pillage as our first uncommon, Sleek Schooner, Seeker's Squire, and our rare is a Captivating Crew. On to pack number 4. Where we have another Queen's Commission, another Blight Keeper, Fathomfleet Firebrand, Legion Conquistador, an Opt, Jade Guardian, Grazing Whiptail, another Gilded Sentinel, Unfriendly Fire, Cancel, Navigator's Ruin as our first uncommon, Drover of the Mighty, Lightning Strike, and our rare is a Ruin Raider. On to pack number 5. Where we have a Dual Shot, Slash of Talons, Mark of the Vampire, another Pirate's Prize, another Ixalan's Diviner, Fire Cannon Blast, Direfleet Interloper, Encampment Keeper, Run Aground, Unknown Shores, Raider's Wake, Belligerent Brontodon, Walk the Plank, and our rare is Herald of Secret Streams. On to our final pack. Where we have another Ryle, Shining Aerosaur, Fathomfleet Cutthroat, Nestrobber, Crash the Ramparts, Shipwreck Looter, Grazing Whiptail, another Gilded Sentinel, another Unfriendly Fire, Trove of Temptation as our first uncommon, another Kumena Speaker, Snapping Sailback, and our rare is Kopala Warden of Waves. And we even get a foil Rootbound Crag. Nice. Alright. So now that we've opened all our packs and sorted everything by color, it's time to take a look at each color individually to kind of gauge the power level, the amount of playables, the amount of creatures, and so on. So let's get started with our white cards. So taking a look at white, we see that we don't have a lot of removal spells. We just have a Slash of Talons, a Pious Interdiction, and then Vampire Zeal as a combat trick that can kind of be used as removal as well. We've got a few decent creatures here in Territorial Hammerskull, Bishop Soldier, our premium commons. Shining Aerosaur is also decent, but that's kind of where things end. I guess we also have a Paladin of the Bloodstained, which is decent, but not a ton of playables here in white. And then we have a few token makers here in 2 copies of Queen's Commission. We do have Paladin of the Bloodstained and 2 copies of Queen's Commission to go with our Rallying Roar as kind of a go white deck, but that's about it. So white is very unexciting, so it's not the first color I would look to when building our sealed deck. So let's take a look at blue and see if blue has more to offer. So we opened a Kopala, which is actually not that great. Even in a Merfolk deck, we've got a Herald of Secret Streams, which can be good if you have enough +1/+1 counter synergies. Shipwreck Looter is just a decent 2-drop. We've got Run Aground as a solid interactive spell. Pirate's Prize I like a lot more in sealed than in draft, and you can definitely play a few copies. Navigator's Ruin is not really a playable card. These are kind of filler. Windstrider's okay, don't really want to main deck Spell Pierce. Sailor of Means is actually also pretty good, as it can allow you to splash multiple of your bomb rares if you have those. And Dive Down can be decent as well, and a Depths of Desire. So taking a look at blue, the main reason to be in blue is our treasure making cards. We've got 1 copy of Sailor of Means and 2 Pirate's Prize, which can let you splash your more powerful rares in other colors. But other than that, blue doesn't have a lot to offer, so I would not look to blue as one of our main colors either. So blue and white are almost definitely out, so that just leaves us with black, red and green as possible options. So let's take a look at our black cards, where we do see some quality cards here, but the problem with black is that it's not very deep. So we've got a Walk the Plank as a very solid removal spell. We've got Ruin Raider as a powerful rare. We've got Seeker Squire as a powerful 2-drop. We've got Skymarch Bloodletter as a solid 3-drop. Skullduggery is always very good. So these are some quality cards for sure. But we do also have a lot of filler cards like Blind Keeper. I guess with triple Blind Keeper, our enchantment here, our Raider's Wake, gets a lot better. But generally Blind Keeper is not the kind of card you want to be playing. But maybe we're forced to improvise a little bit here and play some weirder cards in our deck. so we might only be able to play it as a secondary color to a primary color that's a lot deeper and has more playable cards in it. Taking a look at our red cards, I think red had a lot of powerful cards when opening the packs. We've got some decent removal spells here in Fire Cannon Blast, Unfriendly Fire 2 times, Lightning Strike, the premier uncommon. We've got a very powerful rare in Captivating Crew, some solid commons like Fathom Fleet Firebrand. Then we've got Raptor Hatchling, Thrash of Raptors, all very good. Stormfleet Arsonist is okay. And Tilanali's Knight is also very good if you have enough dinosaurs. So red looks to be one of our better colors so far, and I would definitely be happy to play red. So now let's take a look at our green cards, since we do have some red cards that synergize nicely with dinosaurs. So if we can have enough dinosaurs in green, perhaps we could build a red-green deck. And taking a look at green, we've got 2 copies of Kumena Speaker, which unfortunately don't fit very well into red-green, since you want to be pairing those with your blue cards. But we do have a Snapping Sailback, 2 Grazing Whiptails, we've got a Drover of the Mighty, some Ixalis Diviners, which are just fine filler cards, and a Commune with Dinosaurs. So red-green actually doesn't look like a terrible option, since we do have a couple of dinosaurs and then some solid playables all around. And then taking a look at our multicolor cards, if we were to play red-green, we even pick up a Raging Sawtooth, which is a very powerful card as well. And we even get to play our Rootbound Crag as some additional mana fixing. So I can take a last look at our artifacts here, where we have triple Gilded Sentinel, which is not really where you want to be, but we do have a Sleek Schooner, which can be okay. Cobbled Wings can actually be fine in a red-green dinosaur deck, where you don't have a lot of evasive creatures otherwise, and it's a nice way to give your big dinosaurs flying to get in for those last points of damage. And Shadowed Caravel, unfortunately not that great if you don't have a lot of Explorer cards, which I don't think is the case for us. So still 2 cards here that we could definitely be playing in our red-green deck. So I think we can just start by laying out the curve of our red-green deck and take a look at how many playables we have to see if we can manage to build a red-green deck here. So I'll be back in a bit. Alright, welcome back. So this is how our red-green deck would look like. As you can see, we've got a very light splash for white for our 1 copy of Pious Interdiction and our Belligerent Brontodon, just to add some more power to our deck, and also because our red and green cards were running out of playables. We could be running cards like Nest Robber or Brazen Buccaneers, but those are a little underwhelming, I think. So we're better off splashing the white to get some more powerful cards instead. And we do already have some mana fixing in our deck with our Rootbound Crag and Drover of the Mighty, so it's pretty easy to splash 2 white cards in this deck, I think. So taking a look at our entire deck, we've got a lot of 2-drops here. We've got Tilanali's Knight as a powerful card since we have a lot of dinosaurs, Raptor Hatchling with Enrage that turns into a 3/3, Drover of the Mighty might be one of our best cards in this deck since it synergizes with our dinosaurs, but also if you look at our curve, we're missing 3-drops, which is kind of an issue, but we simply don't have those in our pool. So the Drover of the Mighty lets us go straight into our 4-drops where we do have a lot of powerful cards. In the 3-drop slot we do have a vehicle in Sleek Schooner, which we can pretty easily crew, especially for Ixalis Diviners manage to find a non-land spell on top. Then in the 4-drop slot we have 2 Grazing Whiptails to help us against flyers as well, a Thrash of Raptors, which will be a 5/3 more often than not since we have a lot of dinosaur friends. Then we have Captivating Crew as our Bomb Rare, which will help us steal a lot of games. Then in the 5-drop slot we've got Stormfleet Arsonist as a fine 5-drop, then Snapping Sailback and Raging Sawtooth as more exciting 5-drops, and then finally Belligerent Brontodon, which is actually quite nice in this deck since we do have those 2 Ixalis Diviners, which all of a sudden will be able to deal some damage, and those Grazing Whiptails will also get upgraded in combat. Then taking a look at our non-creature spells, we mostly have removal spells. We've got 1 Commune with Dinosaurs to help us hit land drops, help us find our Splash Collar, but we can also just find dinosaurs in the late game if we need those. Then we've got Cobbled Wings, in case there's a ground stall we can fly over with our dinosaurs. Lightning Strike, excellent removal spell. We've got Crasher Ramparts as a nice combat trick to help push through our smaller creatures. Fire Cannon Blast has an okay removal spell as well. Pious Interdiction can deal with the opponent's largest creatures. And then finally 2 copies of Unfriendly Fire, not the most efficient card, but it can help us take out an important creature or can just go upstairs to finish off an opponent. So overall I don't hate the look of this deck. It's got a lot of removal spells, some powerful dinosaurs and even a rare that can take over the game by itself. So red-green looks quite promising. We could quickly lay out a black-red deck just to see how that would look like, but I'm pretty sure that we would be short on playables. But just to be thorough, we'll explore that combination as well, so I'll be back in a bit. So this is how black-red would look like, and this is only 21 cards, so we're still at least 2 cards short, which means we would have to play something like a Thresh of Raptors with very few dinosaurs, a Nest Robber, which is pretty unexciting, or a Blight Keeper, which is a fine raid enabler, but it's not like we have a ton of raid cards in this deck. And yeah, that's about it. One improvement is that we've got more 3-drops in this deck, but the 4-drop slot is pretty crowded as well. We do have a lot of removal spells in these colors, which I like, but overall the creatures are a bit lacking, and we're kind of short on 2-drops as well. So overall, red-black doesn't look like the best combination. Maybe we can have a last look at a blue-green deck splashing red or various other colors, thanks to the treasure cards. So we'll be back in a bit. Alright, welcome back. So this is how our blue-green deck splashing red and white would look like. So as you can see, we did pick up those 2 Kumena Speaker, which are essentially 1 mana 2/2s in this deck, if you do have the island to go with it. Then in the 2-drop slot we have some nice defensive creatures in 2 Ixalan's Diviner, a Shipwreck Looter, which is not that exciting, but Drover of the Mighty is always excellent, especially when you're trying to splash various colors. Then in the 3-drops we have Sailor of Means and still playing the Sleek Schooner, as we'll see in a minute here. Then we have Captivating Crew on the splash, 2 Grazing Whiptails to hold the fort, and then a Deadeye Quartermaster is actually quite exciting in this deck, since we do have both a vehicle and an equipment to go get with the Quartermaster, so that's a nice bit of card advantage. And then in the 5-drop slot we also have the Raging Swordtooth to kind of clean up the opponent's smaller creatures, a Snapping Sailback, which is always fine, and a Windstrider, and then finally the Brontodon as a Curve Topper, which still goes well with our more defensive high toughness creatures which we have. Then taking a look at the non-creature spells, we still have that Commune with Dinosaurs. We have fewer dinosaurs than in red-green, but it can still help us find a land or one of our top-end dinosaurs. Then we have Lightning Strike on the splash, Cobbled Wings, which is not actually all that great in this deck since we have a pretty low creature count, but it's still fine to go get with our Quartermaster. Then we have Depths of Desire, which also makes a treasure to help us fix our mana. Then the 2 copies of Pirate's Prize to give you some card advantage, and those treasures can help you splash your various cards. And then Pious Interdiction as another nice removal spell. So this deck does have some good things going for it. It does have a lot more card advantage than the straight up red-green version, but I think the red-green version might just be more consistent and therefore just a little bit better in general, as the red-green version also gets to play more removal spells. So I think red-green is still the way to go, splashing white potentially for the Brontodon and the Pious Interdiction. But this is certainly another option that you can consider. Maybe board into this after sideboard if you expect a more grindy game, where the card advantage from Pirate's Prize and the Quartermaster might be more relevant. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this sealed deck building exercise. I wanna thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.
I also want to thank all my patrons for supporting the channel, and you can do so yourself as well over at patreon.com/LegenVD, where you get cool rewards for supporting the channel, as well as getting us closer to our goals, where with every goal reached we will release an additional weekly series. So if you want to see more content, Patreon is the place to go.